23-year-old homemaker Marilyn Vasquez is suing her husband's ex-wife, 33-year-old public safety officer Linda Ricard, for assaulting her when she was 5 months pregnant.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 2 on the calendar in the matter of Vasquez versus Ricard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Vasquez, according to your complaint, the defendant, who is the former wife of your present husband, assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did this when you and your husband were returning the children after a period of visitation that you had with the children. Tell me what happened.
Well, as you already know, we had vacation with the children and we brought them back. I was unloading bike pieces that were in the car. My husband went upstairs, brought the first load up, and the children as well. And
how old are the children?
At the present time, they're 6 and 11.
Okay.
And during the vacation, the youngest was 5 years old. I had to spank her on the bum. One time, I was combing her hair out. I pulled a nap, and she started kicking at me. So I spanked her on the bum, and I sent her to her dad. A little while later, we talked about it. Till this day right now, she doesn't even remember if you asked her. So I look up. I'm taking the stuff out. Miss Ricard's in my face, calling me names. Within a blink of an eye, she attacked me. She grabbed my hair and continued to like swing. At that point, my husband tried to get in the middle, but as I said, her hand was caught in my hair, and she's a strong woman. So, and I was pregnant.
How much pregnant were you?
5 months. That was the first time we ever met face to face, actually. She grabbed my glasses off my face, and she tore my dress and started kicking. She kept kicking and kicking, and she finally got me. She got me on this side. I was 5 months pregnant, and she knew. She's like, you don't even know who your father of the baby is. I hope you lose your baby. And this is all happening in front of the children. She threw rocks at me.
Were you injured, other than being struck in the stomach?
I had a scratch over here and a bruise on my side.
Did you see a doctor?
I went to after that whole mess, I went to the precinct, and at the precinct they called me an EMS, emergency service, and they checked me there. At that time I was cramping and spotting, and it was because of that.
Can I see the police report?
Sure. With that, I hand you the immediate order of protection they gave me.
Did you have a hearing on this application for an order of protection?
No, ma'am. Just recently, at the criminal court, the case was heard, finally. Ms. Ricard had a witness that no one agreed upon, and they just let her go.
So what happened with that case? It was ultimately dismissed?
Yes, also because the judge did not want to get involved in the family issues. There are a lot of family issues involved here.
This matter was ultimately heard in the criminal court?
Yes.
On charge of assault. Was there a trial?
Yes, there was a trial.
Was it a jury or a non-jury trial?
Non-jury.
Okay, let me hear your version of the events, Ms. Ricard.
My children came upstairs. I asked them how they were doing, but when they came through the door, I saw that my children had their hair cut and chemicals were put in their hair. It was relaxed. They came in, they said they had a good time. My little one said, "Mommy, she hit me." I said, "She hit you?" She said, "Yeah." I said, even after last weekend when I told her, don't put her hands on you or don't hit them with a comb, like my oldest one had told me the weekend before when I spoke to her on the phone, because she had been doing their hair and they didn't want her to do their hair. So I went downstairs and I asked her, "What is this I hear about you hitting my kid?" She says, "I didn't hit your kid." I said, "Tiffany, did she hit you?" Tiffany said, "Yes." I said, "But on the phone last week when you picked up the other line, I told you not to touch my children." "I didn't touch your children, and you should teach your children more respect, and they don't have no manners." She stepped back, she took off her glasses and her sandals, threw her sandals at me, and stepped forward, and you should learn how to tell your children the truth and right things. And when she put her hand in my face, I defended myself by trying to push her away, and we got into a tussle. My neighbor and another neighbor from across the street.
Don't tell me who saw anything, madam, if they're not here.
Oh, okay. Well, I have his affidavit.
I'm
and
not
he was
interested in an affidavit.
Okay.
I'm interested in
well,
witnesses and common sense.
People around, neighbors broke it up, and I went upstairs.
Who do the children live with now?
Me.
They live with Anthony Polite.
They live with myself and my husband.
And how long have the children been living with you?
Since
August 30th.
Was that as a result of a court order?
Yes, ma'am. I have all the papers.
I'd like to see them.
This is their order of protection on their mother, and this is the order.
Can I see it, please? All right. Ms. Ricard, I sat in the family court for a long time. I know enough to know that no family court judge transfers custody absent a showing of some special circumstance that requires in the children's best interest for that custody to be transferred. I'm not going into that now. What I am going to tell you is I think that, A, you didn't like her to begin with, even though you had never met her, but must have known from your children that she was pregnant and that she was going to soon marry your former husband. I assume you were not remarried at the time. Is that right?
No, I wasn't.
Then your children come home, and you see that while they were visiting with their father and soon-to-be stepmother, they did an outrageous thing by having their hair straightened, cut, whatever it was, because you talk about that in your papers. So you're furious at that. And then you continue to ask your children how things were, and your youngest child said that she had, in fact, spanked her. That further infuriated you. You come down there in a fury. You didn't approach her and say, could you please tell me what happened when you were there? I told you not to put your hands on her. You came down in a fury. They had usurped, in your judgment, maternal right and permed the hair, cut the hair, aside from the fact that you probably have a whole history with this man if there is a custody battle ongoing for years anyway. So you are not a happy camper, and you lost your temper. That's what happened. And you lost your temper and you assaulted her.
No, that's not what happened.
Oh, yes, I believe that because she wasn't angry with you. She wasn't angry with you.
I have a statement here where she told the judge, Anthony, her husband, told the criminal judge that she was mimicking me before I even got downstairs.
You have the transcript?
Yes, I have the entire transcript.
I want the whole transcript.
You want the whole?
Oh, yeah. I just don't want
can even
one
give you
piece of it.
pages where these things
No,
occur.
no. I don't do pages.
Oh, have the whole thing
That's fine.
to look at.
Now, you can direct me
Sure, no
to
problem.
the pages when I ask you for them.
Okay, page 28.
Just a second. Are you a police officer?
School safety agent, a peace officer. I have too much to lose to assault her for anything.
You have any other paperwork from the family court?
Sure, I have a statement that says she's not to be left alone with my children.
No, I'd
That
like
was
to see
last
everything
year.
that you have.
Sure.
Your Honor, that's because she lied.
I don't.
Page 71 in the transcript you have.
No, I don't have a full transcript.
There is another half, but that I don't have in my possession.
I need the end of the case.
I don't have that.
Well, then this is useless to me. I have to have an entire document. I have to see whether this case was dismissed after an entire
There's the-
trial. I'm speaking, and you're not. Whether the case was dismissed after the plaintiff's case, or whether after the entire case, beyond a reasonable doubt, the judge did not believe that the allegations had been sustained. The quantum of proof here is very, very different. My sense is, after reading all of these documents, unfounded reports of neglect filed against the
Yeah,
father.
because Anthony constantly calls ACS, but I'm not here to
Just a
exploit my
second,
children.
just a second. All of those things go into your frustration, Miss Ricard. At the time when they were returning the children, I assume that they were returning the children on time. They were not there to argue with you. They were not there to fight with you. You had a choice.
Neither was I.
No, oh, yes, you were. You had a choice. And your choice was that if your daughter said something to you about being hit, spanked by the plaintiff, and you are, in some regard, a peace officer, then what you do, since you were no stranger to the courts, you were no stranger to family court, you had an attorney, so that your choice at that time was, the very next morning you pick up the phone.
Let me ask, can I ask you something?
Judge, no, you may ask me nothing. What I'm telling you is they came there without any sense of fight. You came downstairs, you were furious. And you were furious because of a whole bunch of things.
No, I was not furious.
Of course you were furious. The first thing that you said to me today, they had chemically treated the children's hair and straightened it. So,
Yeah,
so
they were.
So?
Yeah. And
So?
she has, like, you didn't
So
want to
what?
look at the statement, but she was, in that statement, she says how I came downstairs. She says that I came downstairs in a calm, low-mannered voice. She says it in the statement.
Oh, show me
Page
that one.
71,
Oh, just a-
she
shh,
says
shh,
that she was... Anthony says, yes, she was mimicking
No,
me.
no, 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 no.
Of course.
She
Just
came
a second.
downstairs.
Just a second. I'm going to look at page 71. She
Page
says,
22.
My
That's the lo-
husband's here to say what
I
he said.
want you to be quiet. I'm reading from line 4. I was unpacking the trunk and I was putting the bicycle pieces down on the ground when I looked up and Miss Ricard is right on the sidewalk in front of me, and she didn't start yelling at me. She approached me by saying, "Why did you put your hands on my daughter? Why did you put your hands on my child?" When she said that to you, what was her tone? Very low. What was your response? Because she was upset about it, I said, "Let me explain what happened." She didn't give me a chance. She just attacked me. I don't know why you think that that'll help you. Judgment for the
Okay,
plaintiff in
can
the
you
amount
tell-
of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
The truth will prevail eventually. It'll prevail. This is just a little war. The battle is not over.
She's gotten away with way too much. And, you know, if she was a fit parent, the children would not be living with myself and my husband.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Phillips versus Boyd and Boyd versus Booton, step forward.
24-year-old bus driver Latasha Phillips is suing former friend, 23-year-old cashier Danielle Boyd, for giving her personal information to police when she received a ticket. Danielle has a separate lawsuit against her own witness, Shanika Booton. Danielle says Shanika was the one who actually gave the information.
Miss Boyd, you are driving along with your friend over here. I assume that you're Miss Booton. Yes is the answer.
Yes.
You're driving. You get pulled over by the police. You had no driver's license. So when the police said to you, "Can I see your driver's license and registration?" you said what?
I gave him Latasha Phillips' name.
And you got a ticket.
Right.
For what?
With no insurance.
What else? You don't get stopped for no insurance because the police don't know you have no insurance when they stop your car. What was your car stopped for?
He had a busted windshield.
That's an answer.
Danielle has a separate lawsuit against her own witness, Shanika Booton. Danielle says Shanika was the one who actually gave the information.
So you gave her name to the police. You said, "I don't have my license, but this is my name"? Speak.
Right.
Did I say anything that was funny to you?
Not so far.
Could you get your act together, please?
Excuse me.
You also gave her date of birth.
I didn't know her date of birth until she gave it to me.
So Miss Booton over here gave you Miss Phillips' date of birth to complete the lie that you told to the police, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Phillips, at this time you're home making matzo ball soup for your family, right?
Yes.
And you know nothing about this.
No, ma'am.
You find out that you've been issued this citation. Did you get something in the mail?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you find out about it?
Because Shanika, that's my cousin right there. Yeah. And this her best friend. They was mad at each other. So Shanika called one of my other cousins and told her to tell me that Kunta used my name.
So what did you do?
I called the DMV and I got the citation number. Then I called the court to find out why she got pulled over and what day it happened and stuff. And then they start sending me papers in the mail from the collection agency.
Let me see your papers.
This from the collection agency, and this from the DMV. And the collection agency saying that they put a hold on my license, and the DMV said that they was going to suspend my license if I didn't clear it up. And that's
Now,
the
your
only
particular
thing.
problem is you were on maternity leave from your job as a bus driver,
Yes, ma'am.
and you couldn't go back to work for a period of time because your license was suspended,
Yes, it's on hold.
on hold for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you out of work?
I was supposed to go back from October 10th, from October 10th till now.
And you haven't been able to clear this up?
I just went to court on the 30th for it, for this ticket to get the paper saying that I didn't do it.
And how much do you earn a month?
1806.
Your defense is it's her fault, right?
Yes.
Because if she hadn't given you the date of birth,
I wouldn't have told the police, right?
did you ever tell anybody that you had given misinformation?
It was only me and her who knew because we were in the car together. It was me, her, and her baby.
Did you ever tell the truth to the police?
To the police.
To the shh. To the police. Did you ever tell the truth to the police so that you got her off the hook?
No.
No. I'd like you to sit down for a minute, please. This is going to take 2 seconds. Step over here, please. Now you're the plaintiff. Now you're the defendant. Now, Miss Boyd, this is a lawsuit that you filed against Miss Booten, right?
Right.
And you filed this lawsuit against Miss Booten for $1,000.
Right.
And your claim, why don't you tell me what your claim is
Because
against Miss
from
Booten?
loss of work, and I lost $400 behind this.
How is she responsible for your lost wages from work?
Because they took $400 from me
For the ticket?
for the ticket. They were both taking the money from me.
Did you take $400 from her?
No, I didn't.
Let me read you your claim that you filed, madam.
I see it, it's right.
You say she should be responsible
She should be responsible.
for
right.
aiding me in giving the police the misinformation that caused them to issue a citation in her name, because but for her giving you her date of birth, you would not have given the police that misinformation.
Right.
I'm suing the defendant for $1,000 for the stress caused and lost wages.
Yeah.
I think she needs a real reality check. Would you say she needs a reality check?
That a detox.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. Now, on your case, just stand up for a second. You may sit down. You may sit down. Not a genius to give your cousin's date of birth, madam. Do you understand? Now you can move back over here. Play little musical chairs. Move back over here. All right, Miss Boyd, let's talk about an R word. R word, responsibility. Responsibility means that if you give misinformation to the police out of your mouth that causes somebody else a problem, even if somebody else told you that information, it's your responsibility.
That's true.
That's not what you say in your answer.
But I'm saying it doesn't cause them to take my money from me.
Oh, I'm going to take a lot more money from you. Because of your actions, she was out of work for at least 2 months because she couldn't drive without a good license, because you opened up your big mouth and lied to the police when you got stopped. It has nothing to do with the police and your broken windshield and you didn't have insurance on your car. That's something between you and the police, madam. With regard to Miss Phillips, you owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
18-year-old student Kendra Elliott is suing 19-year-old student Michael Durkin. Kendra claims a drunken Michael crashed while giving her a ride on his motorcycle. Michael is countersuing for being forced to drive.
Order. All rise. This is case number 4. You okay?
Wait till you hear this one.
This is case 455, Judge, in the matter of Elliott versus Durkin. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
I want you to listen carefully to this.
I will do.
It seems that Miss Elliott was out at a bar with some friends. The defendant was also there. Both had been drinking. He was drinking a lot. According to Miss Elliott, the defendant insisted on giving her a ride, despite the fact she had come with other people to the bar, to their next stop, which was somebody's house, another hot spot, who knows. Mr. Durkin was driving a motorcycle. Miss Elliott says that Mr. Durkin insisted on giving her a ride.
Of course.
And she got on his motorcycle, and there was a bad accident, and she was injured. Prince Charming over here was afraid that because he was so drunk he was going to get in trouble. He left the scene and left her there in not such good shape. So that's part of the story. So far, I have your story down pretty pat.
Yes, ma'am.
Genius over here is countersuing.
4.
He says she insisted on this ride, and he said, no, 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 because I'm too drunk to give you a ride, right? You told her that, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she forced herself on him. And his countersuit says that she was holding on so tight that when he flipped over this meridian divider, he not only injured himself, but suffered all kinds of emotional stress. Now you've heard from me.
Have a good time.
Now we're going to hear from them. When did this incident take place, Miss Elliott?
October 31st, Halloween night.
What did you go as?
I was a fairy princess.
Mr. Durkin? And you?
I wasn't dressed up.
She was dressed up as a fairy princess.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you were at a bar?
A nightclub.
What time did you get there?
Probably around 9, 10-ish.
What time did you meet the defendant?
Around 9, 10-ish when I arrived.
What time did you leave together?
Around 11.
And tell me about leaving.
Well, I wanted to go meet some other friends, and he said he'd offer to give me a ride, and my friends who I came with, they wanted to go home, so I said, okay, we'll just go to the club, and then we can go back to my house.
I didn't ask for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. She was with me. She tried to talk him out of it. I wasn't in a good state of mind.
What do you mean you weren't in a good state of mind?
I had been drinking.
So you were drunk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I thought that it'd be okay to ride with him, to go to the club, and then we'd go back to my house, hang out with because I figured my friends would still be awake. I got on the bike. My roommate, who I came with, she tried to talk me out of it, and I'm drunk, I don't listen. She said she tried to talk him out of it.
And he was drunk, so he didn't listen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? So you got on the bike?
Yeah. And she tried really.
All right, she tried, and she really wants to talk to me badly. So you got on the bike. And what happened when you got on the bike?
He was driving fast. I mean, showing off. I've ridden with people on motorcycles. I know how they a lot of the time act. They show off, for girls, drive fast, go between cars and whatnot. And I told him I was always just scaring me, please stop. He said, okay. He said he would try. We came to a red light. There was a truck in front of us. He made a left-hand turn, and he hit the median. He ran over the median. Like a minute after he said he'd try to drive better. After he ran over the median, I remember just thinking, oh my God, this isn't happening. I was screaming, crying, and he told me to get up. And he said, you're bleeding, but you're going to be all right.
He was right.
Thank you.
Oh, he was right. You probably were bleeding, and you see you standing here.
I was
and
bleeding.
you see you standing here, so you're all right.
Yes, but I was bleeding bad. I have pictures.
Oh, I'd like to see your pictures.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, not good, but.
Yeah.
And that third one in that first stack, that's the second day with my eyes open. It swelled more.
When you took this picture in your fairy princess costume, is there any reason why you put the crown on?
My friend who took it.
What a sense of humor. So you broke your nose, you had to have it rebroken.
Yes, ma'am.
You had two black eyes, and you want all your medical bills paid.
Lost wages. I had to retake 2 classes. I missed 2 weeks of school. Medical bills that insurance wouldn't cover. And then I still have permanent scarring.
All right, so you have insurance on this motorcycle?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
So why didn't you put into his insurance?
On
what?
Insurance, I mean, they paid for some of the medical expenses. I couldn't get a hold of it. I didn't
put in to his insurance carrier for the injuries that you sustained as a result of this accident?
I wasn't sure if he had insurance. I didn't talk to him. I didn't.
Well, you should have.
I mean, he denied it even happened.
Listen to me. The first thing you do when you have an accident like this is you get a lawyer. Because the lawyer sues his insurance company. So I don't know why you didn't do that.
I didn't know the procedure.
Well, now you know it, so I would suggest that maybe you do that. Maybe. All right, Mr. Durkin. Now, this accident happened pretty much the way she says it did, right?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Well, tell me how the accident happened.
This is outrageous, all right?
Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm the only one that gets hysterical here.
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry. It was Halloween night, okay? And I was just sitting at home, and I was by myself, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go out, right?
Listen, let me explain something to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Get to the club. 10
all right,
o'clock
I'm at the club. I'm up in the bar, and I'm having a few drinks, and I'm 3 sheets to the wind, Your Honor, all right? Up comes a little fairy princess, and she's talking to me, and I thought she was pretty cute, but I mean, anyway, we started talking, we got along pretty well, right? And after about...
Get to the bike!
Okay, Your Honor, after an hour. Your Honor, listen.
Bird, do me a favor.
Talk to me.
Stand behind him.
Okay.
Stand behind him. If he does that again, execute him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kendra Elliott says fellow partygoer Michael Durkin owes her for medical bills resulting from a motorcycle crash. Michael says Kendra forced him to drive.
Get to the bike,
All
sir.
right, yes.
She's on the bike.
This is pertinent, Your Honor.
Not pertinent. You're
Okay.
on the bike.
We wrecked. Yes,
Fine.
we wrecked.
Good. Now, she's laying on the ground, I assume, pretty bloody. And what made you take off, Mr. Durkin?
Your Honor, I was scared. All right.
That's fair. That's a fair. Shh, shh. Stop with this, Trionics. Put your hands on the table. That's perfect. That's where I want you to keep them. Bird, make sure he keeps those hands on the table. You were scared. That's a fair statement. You knew you were drunk, that you were going to be in serious trouble, so you took off and you left her. You had never met her before, so you figured she'll take care of herself. Some truck had come or something. Is that?
I was conned into. Your Honor, I was basically like, I was convinced to take her on the bike, okay?
Listen, Durkin,
Yes,
listen to me. I don't care who you've told this story to before. I don't want to hear that part of the nonsense that you were conned into taking her on the bike. Because listen to me.
I don't mean conned, Your Honor.
Because you shouldn't have been on the bike. Do you want to know
That's
why?
That's correct, and
Right.
I didn't want to get on the bike, Your Honor.
Did you receive an order from the President of the United States commanding you to get on your bike?
No, Your Honor.
Now
but
just
there was
answer it. That's a no. I assume your bike is started with a key? Listen to me very carefully. These require yes or no answers. Nothing other than that. Does your bike require a key to start it?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you went into the club, did you leave the key in the bike?
No, Your Honor.
So would it be a fair statement that when you came out of the club, she got on the back of the bike, you removed the key from a pocket? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
You took the key that you removed from your pocket and you put it in the ignition.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you have a kickstand on the bike.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you put it up. I assume you did all of those things.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of those things required some thought. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Completely.
So that the fairy princess didn't fly down and sit on the back of your bike while the bike was in motion. You did all of those things while she was on the bike. So it was a conscious in your unconscious state of mind choice to give her a ride on your bike while you were intoxicated. That's stupid. However, Mr. Durkin, she's just as stupid. And I don't care how much her friends tried to convince her not to go.
Her friends weren't even there, Your Honor. She sent them away.
Just a second. Are you speaking to him?
How are they not there?
You're doing all right now.
Just do me a favor. Step yourself outside. You're irritating me. So, Miss Elliott, you're drunk. You get on his bike. You know he's drunk.
No, ma'am.
Oh, well, the only reason that you didn't know he was drunk is because you were drunk. And you had a choice. Your choice was, in your drunken state, to leave with your friends and go back to the house and sleep it off. That was your choice.
Yes, ma'am.
You chose, in your drunken state, knowing that he's drunk and going someplace else. You get hurt? That's your fault. That's just taking care of your lawsuit. You want to somehow pursue his insurance company? You're free to do that, Miss Elliott. In this court, you're not going to get a dime for stupidity. Now let's deal with your counterclaim, Mr.
Yes,
Durkin. And I'm going to deal with it as fairly and expeditiously as I can.
Please.
It's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I would still like to apologize, except it upsets me that she came to court and lied.
I just basically, though, wanted everybody to know that he did. I mean, he's a jerk, obviously.
And now the next case.
All parties on War Kenton Jr. versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
32-year-old concrete business owner Ron Workington is suing his ex-girlfriend, 30-year-old security truck driver Lisa Cooper. Ron claims Lisa lied about the paternity of her daughter.
Mr. Workington, according to what I've read, you and Miss Cooper lived together on and off for about 6 years. Starting when, sir?
In the summer of '94.
And in 1997, were you living together?
Yes.
When did you start living together?
The summer of '94.
Through when?
It was off and on till about August of 1999.
When you say off and on, you left, she left? during periods of time?
A couple times here and there. It was a short period of time.
What do you mean, a week or two or a month?
Month at the most, month and a half.
And during those periods of time, would you leave or would she leave?
It was basically her decision to leave most of the times.
Okay. And you had a child?
A little girl.
A girl. And you continued to live together until August of 1999, separated. And in March of 2000, according to your complaint, a DNA test was done for some reason, and it was determined that the child was not yours. Your lawsuit wants to be reimbursed from the defendant for all the support that you contributed to the child during those 3 years. What prompted you to take a DNA test?
She told me in...
March.
Shh, I'll give you a
She
chance.
told me in June of last year when I was involved in another relationship with my girlfriend here. She told me that the child that I thought that I had was not my child. And she said that she knew the person that this child was fathered by. So I stopped paying her the money for the child at that point.
You had been voluntarily paying child support from August of 99 until June of 2000?
Yes, I was actually giving her money on a weekly basis.
After you left?
Yes.
What were you giving her?
I was giving her like $300-400 a month.
Is that correct?
No.
Was he giving you any money after August of 1999?
No, he did. When we separated and I was completely away from him, he did not give me any money.
I'm just curious, do you have any proof that you gave her any money?
No, ma'am. I gave her cash money every week. It was one of those things that we were in the relationship since
You hardly
1994.
worked.
I didn't realize I was going to be in this situation 4 or 5 years down the road, so I didn't have any recollection that I was giving her cash deceitfully. I was giving it out of good faith, giving her money, paying her car payments, paying her bills that she has, you know, thinking that we had a relationship together for you know, eternity, more or less.
Well, eternity usually means marriage. Can you tell me why, since 1994, nobody used the M word?
No.
Well,
It
did you want to get married?
had been talked about.
No.
You did not want to
No.
get married.
Well, obviously, she had a kid with somebody else.
Obviously. When, for the first time, Miss Cooper, did you have a sense that this might not be his child?
It would be March of 2000.
And what made you suspect in March of 2000 that the child might not be his?
Because of all the comments that were made to me regarding Tyler's eye color, because we both have blue eyes and she's got brown eyes.
So, brown eyes are dominant.
Should have been the intention at the very beginning, 3 years ago. I should have been told that instead of 3 years later.
Sir,
My night.
if you're not married and there is a child, there is a way of legitimatizing that child legally. I mean, if you've had, according to you, an off-again, on-again relationship, she leaves for a month, she leaves for a couple of weeks, she leaves for a week.
But when the times that she had left and came back, that didn't stop her from asking for the money and didn't stop me paying her the money for. See, she has another child, and I supported that child also. She was supposedly getting child support.
You don't get paid back for that.
Oh, I know.
You don't get paid back for that.
No. At the very beginning, the actual father, when she was in this other court hearing for the DNA testing and everything, she knew beforehand because he wrote her a check, a $400 check that I saw and my girlfriend saw at the court date, that he'd given her a $400 check for supposedly an abortion.
Where's the check?
That she did not, she told him that she took care of it. So the father was actually just as surprised as I was to find out about this whole situation.
Has there been an order declaring someone else the father of your daughter?
Yes.
Has DNA testing been done in that
Yes.
case? And did you get the test results in that case?
Yes.
And what were the test results in that
That he was 99.9%.
case? Father.
Yes.
So there is really no issue now. Yes.
I have a birth certificate of the child that has my signature on it and her signature stating that, as the best of her knowledge, that I am the father of the child.
That was the
No,
best of my knowledge.
no. Listen to me, sir. When you were in the hospital when this little girl was born, and they came in and they brought you papers to sign.
Yes.
I mean, I know what the drill is. Been around the park a couple of times. She didn't say that you were the father. You said that you were the father.
That's what my intentions were the whole time.
Right. You have to use your noodle. But there is no cause of action. in any jurisdiction unless you can prove fraud. Now, the one thing that you did say to me that sort of piqued my interest was you said that there was a check
Yes, ma'am.
that someone else wrote.
The actual father of the child.
Okay. Did that ever happen?
No.
Well, I would need to see proof of that because that might be some indication that she perpetrated a fraud on you. Right now, she just made a bad guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
She guessed wrong. Maybe it was wishful thinking that you were the father. But you would have to establish to my satisfaction that she knowingly perpetrated a fraud on you.
Mm-hmm.
Her saying to you, listen, you might or might not be the father because there is a possibility somebody else is the father, that's not fraud. But if she knew that someone else was the father, told you that you were the father, and took money from you under false pretenses, then you might have a case to get some of your money back. So, case is dismissed, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
43-year-old student Wenice Garnett is suing her daughter, 18-year-old student Tamika Garnett, for the cost of a car. Tamika says her mother has possession of the car in question.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Garnett versus Garnett. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Garnett, how long has it been since you've seen your daughter?
December 27th.
Is that the day she left?
Yes.
Have you had any contact with her since the day she left?
No.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Older or younger?
Younger, 17-year-old son.
Is he living at home with you?
Yes.
I read your complaint. According to your complaint, for your daughter's 16th birthday, she's now 18, you purchased a car for her. Is that right? You purchased a car that she drove.
Yes.
And she drove the car continuously from the time she was 16 till the time she was 18,
yes.
till she left. Did you have another car?
Yes.
So at the time that you purchased the car, it was really for your daughter? Yes. Miss Garnett, don't play around with me, please. Please don't play around with me.
It was a family car.
Okay. It was a family car that she was driving. You had no use for another car unless your daughter was going to be driving the car.
Right.
She moved out when she was 18. There was some argument between the two of you.
Right.
And you kept the car.
Right.
And you want her to pay for the car.
Yes.
That's what I didn't understand. You bought the car, you have the car, and you want her to pay for the car. And
yes.
what happens after she pays for the car?
What I'm asking for is that when I bought the car, it was to help me out because I'm a full-time student, to help me out with her and her brother with after-school activities. She was in acting lessons, he's in track and basketball. What happened was 8 months ago, we started having major problems because she was secretly in a relationship that I didn't know anything about. And when I found out about the relationship, we went to counseling. I suggested that we go to counseling to try to work our problems out. And when I found out about her in the relationship, I felt betrayed. I felt that she had been lying to me all of this time. And I felt like she should have come to me instead of sneaking around. So we continued to go to counseling, and it still wasn't working out. And we were still having major problems. And she was saying, well, I'm leaving, and I'm not going to stay here and take all of this, and that's when the problems happened.
Okay. But then she left. She did leave the car at your insistence. Mm-hmm. So you have the car.
Yes.
What do you want her to pay for?
Because when she had the car, she let the transmission fluid run out of it, and I had to buy a new transmission for it. And it cost about $2,800 for that. Oh. And I feel like I should be reimbursed for that because it was her fault. She made payments on it, and she still owes me for it.
How old was she when the transmission fluid ran out?
17.
She owes you for nothing. You may feel as if she owes you for it. You may feel as if she has a moral obligation for it, but she doesn't have a contract to pay you for it. She was a minor at the time it happened.
I wrote a contract out.
Doesn't make any difference whether you wrote a contract out or not, unless she signed a contract with you when she turned 18. You can't make a contract with a minor. So that takes care of your lawsuit. I couldn't really understand it. Still don't understand it. So let's talk about your mother. I'm not going to give this case much longer because you went to counseling with your mom, and evidently that didn't work. Is this the boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up. Tell me your name.
Chris.
Who do you live with, Chris?
My mom.
And where does Miss Garnett live?
With me.
Hmm?
She lives in my house.
Who else lives in your house?
My mom and my stepdad.
You like her?
Tamika? Yeah, she's my girlfriend.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Do you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
American River College.
Speak up.
American River College.
And where do you go to school?
American River College.
When did you start school?
I started in August of 2000.
You like him?
Yes.
When did you meet him?
I met him freshman year in high school, and we were friends for 4 years, and then we started a relationship my senior year, and we've been together for about 7 months.
How come you didn't tell your mom about it?
Because my mother doesn't believe in interracial dating, and she told me if I ever did bring a white guy into the house that she would not approve. Mainly that is the reason why I didn't bring him around, and she knew about it. She just didn't tell me, and she told me that if she did find out about it, that there was going to be drastic measures taken. And she did, in fact, ground me for dating him the whole entire summer. Basically, I was grounded the whole entire summer, my first semester of college.
How do you do in school?
Right, I'm doing good, actually.
What's actually?
Actually, for the situation that I've been living in, I'm doing very good, especially being my first semester in college.
How do you pay for school?
I have financial aid, and my grant pays for school.
How is it living in that house?
It's been very stress-free, and I was under a lot of stress in her house, and under the advice of my counselor, I decided, you know, maybe living in her house wasn't too good. And in fact, I was going to stay after my counselor advised me to leave the house, but she actually kicked me out the 26th of December. And
You had
told
an
me,
argument?
Yeah, we had an argument. She grabbed suitcases and she told me to take my stuff and leave, that I couldn't come back.
You didn't mean that, did you?
Well, she was being disrespectful to me, saying rude things to me that were not, you know, very respectful to me as her mother.
Did you ever tell her that you would not only disapprove of, but take measures if she ever had an interracial relationship?
No, I didn't tell her that. What happened was her best friend and her were liking Chris. And I told her, because of morals and the way that I've raised her, that friends should not date friends. What happened was her and her best friend fell completely out. There was a big mess going on because of him. Her friend had a deep crush on him, and he liked her. So that was the reason I disapproved of the relationship.
Ms. Garnett, how many times have you been married? Once?
Yes.
Divorced? Widowed?
Yes, divorced.
Divorced. How long were you married?
7 years.
Were you in love when you got married?
Yes.
How old were you when you got married?
26.
Did your parents approve?
Yes.
If they hadn't approved, what would you have done?
Tried to persuade them.
And if you couldn't persuade them, what would you have done?
Married them, probably.
Sure, you would have.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wennice Garnett claims her daughter, Tamika Garnett, owes her for the cost of a car. Tamika says her mother kicked her out of the house because she's involved in an interracial relationship.
Ms. Garnett, it's not Chris's fault if another young lady has a terrible crush on him. Unless, of course, he did something to really encourage that. If he didn't, it's not his fault. You said to me, he cared for my daughter. He's a 19-year-old young man. He lives at home. He's going to college. Never been arrested?
No.
Never been arrested. You do drugs?
No.
I believe him. I'm a pretty good judge. Now let's look at your daughter. Beautiful?
Yes.
Clearly intelligent?
Yes.
A winner. I'm telling you, I'm looking at her and I'm listening to her. She's a winner. Sometimes you have to rely on your children's judgment, even though it wouldn't be your judgment. Even though you would like her to be a little older before she flies off. Mm-hmm. It's certainly the wrong thing for you not to be in communication. Do you know what I mean? Forget about this lawsuit. You and I both know it's nonsense. I think that the only reason you probably brought your daughter to court is you wanted to get to see her and say something to her, and you couldn't without it.
That's not true. I wanted to be reimbursed
Oh, Miss
for
Garnett,
this
I
car.
can't even believe that. I really can't believe that. That you want to be reimbursed from your daughter who's going to college, doing well, on a grant, on financial aid.
I'm in college too.
But you paid the money already. Listen to me.
I got a loan for that. I didn't have the money.
Listen to me, Miss Garnett. I have a simple answer for you. Sell the car.
The pink slip is in her name. How can I sell it?
She'll sign it over to you.
No, she wants that car.
Well, of course, she would like the car, but she's been doing without it for a couple of months. Is it true that your mother had to take out a loan to pay for this transmission?
Yes.
She doesn't have a lot of money.
No.
You think she could make up that money if she sold the car?
Yes.
So you prepared to let her do that?
Well,
That's a hard thing. I mean, I understand it's a hard thing. Cars for kids are really important. But if your mother took out a loan to pay for the transmission so that you would still have a car to use, and your agreement with her that you would pay her back, is that right? That's a moral thing. You can't enforce it contractually. So, although I can't order you to do that, I think that you really should consider that. Maybe that's just a step. Mom, take the car, sell it, pay off the loan that you took out. I don't want you to have a loan. Just as a nice thing to do. Miss Garnett.
Yes.
You have to be open. This is her boyfriend.
I like him. I don't have a problem.
I think that you probably should.
He
I think
is.
he looks
He's
like a
very
nice young man.
Yeah.
And she certainly is a fine young lady, so whatever you did right. For a long time, right?
yes.
Do you see your brother?
I haven't seen him since, I've seen him periodically to go pick up mail from the house and stuff, but I haven't actually been able to spend time with him.
You miss that?
Yes.
You miss her?
Yes.
Okay. See if you can work it out. All right?
Okay.
Okay? Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'd really like to see a relationship develop between my mother and I.
Like we were mother and daughter again.
I still love her, and I always will.
I love you, Mom. I love you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Himes versus Himes. Step forward, please.
21-year-old government document examiner Tennelle Himes is suing her father, 45-year-old tree trimming supervisor Horace Himes. Tennelle says while she was in boot camp, her father repossessed her car and traded it in.
Miss Himes, the defendant is your father.
Yes, ma'am.
And some time ago, you purchased a car. You needed a co-signer for the loan. Your father agreed to co-sign the loan for you. Later, you were going into the armed forces for a training period. You left the car. You claimed that your father took the car and sold it. And you want to be reimbursed for, I assume, all the money that you put into the car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When was this car purchased?
The car was purchased May the 31st of 1997.
And when did you go into the armed services?
I left to go into Air National Guard August the 31st.
Of what year?
2000.
And from the time you got the car in May of 1997 up through August 31st of 2000, were you current in all your car payments?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you find out that your father had taken the car?
Well, this is my mom, and she's my witness. I talked with my mom in September.
September what? Do you recall?
No, ma'am, because we couldn't call when I was in basic.
What
we
date,
couldn't call.
sir, did you take possession of the car?
I took possession of the car, and I can't recall the exact date, but it was in September.
So you would have had no payments due up through August 31st. Had you made September's payment?
No, the payment isn't due until September the 31st.
So you were totally up to date at the time that you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So according to you, your father had absolutely no reason to repossess this car?
No.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tennelle Himes says her father illegally repossessed her car and traded it in. Horace Himes says he was justified because his daughter was behind in her payments.
Okay. Mr. Himes?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll hear you, sir.
Okay, in September, I got a call from GMAC that telling me Tennelle didn't pay the note on it.
Did you get a statement as to how much was owed?
Yes, ma'am. I got it
at
right
that
here.
time?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. Here's a whole record on it right there.
Ms. Himes,
Yes, ma'am.
this says that in the year 2000, You failed to make a payment in May. In July, you made a payment of $166 instead of the $296.77.
Right.
And you made no payment whatsoever in August.
I love
So I would like to see proof that you made all of those payments up through August 31st. Do you
Okay.
have proof that you made all of those payments?
No, ma'am, I don't have proof because I closed out that account and I opened up a new account, and I have a letter stating that they can't pull it up on the computer, and I have
I'm not
that
asking
right
you
here.
to pull it up on the computer. I'm telling you that you save your checks.
And the
You're not
car-
even talking about a year.
Yes, ma'am.
So you save them.
Okay, some of the receipts that I had paid on my car note were in my car. When I got back home and I asked my dad to bring my belongings with, he hadn't even discussed even taking
This
the
is the
car.
payment history, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me that GMAC was incorrect, and what you do is to go to GMAC and said, I made these payments. Then they're going to ask you for proof that you made the payments.
Right.
What are you going to tell them? The cat ate them?
No, ma'am.
So you owed at the time, in September, $519.99, which your father, I assume, paid.
Yes, ma'am.
May I
have
see
proof.
it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. You wrote the check on September 5th, $519.99, and they received it on the 11th of
Yes,
September. Well, Miss Himes, your father had every right to take the car back. Your agreement was that you would make the car payments. For some reason, you failed to make the car payments. What did you want him to do?
Okay, he came and got the car. When I was away and I found out that he had the car, I spoke with him. And he told me that he had made a car payment. I stated that I would send money home to him. He stated that that was okay. And if I owed him any more money, I would pay him the rest when I got home.
So then you fibbed to me before when you said to me you had made all of the car payments up through August 31st. You didn't tell me the truth. You had not made all the car payments.
But I left payments home to be paid, though.
Madam, you made no car payment at all in May, and you made half of a car payment in July.
That's what they allowed me to do that. They allowed me to do that.
You have a statement from GMAC that they were giving you a certain grace period?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. How much did you trade the car in for?
I took the car back to the car dealer to take it in because I didn't want my credit to go bad. So for them to buy the car back from me, I called the car dealer and asked him would he buy it back from me. He said, Horace, you was a good customer of ours, so bring it in, we'll see what we can do for you. The car dealer gave me $4,000 for the car. The car was worth over $6,000. That's what she owed on it.
Mr. Himes, you have a certain obligation under these circumstances to get the most that you possibly can for the car.
Right.
If you had sold this car privately, could you have gotten more than $4,000 for it?
I couldn't have got $4,000 for it. I run an ad in the paper, Judge.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How long did you run the ad in the paper? 1 week?
No, I
How
run
long?
the ad in the paper for 2 months.
And you got no takers?
No, ma'am. I had one guy to come and look at it, and he didn't want to buy it because it was messed up so.
All right, Miss Himes, I don't know why you're angry with your father, but your father certainly did what he was supposed to do as a parent. He helped you out in 1997. You got a car. For the privilege of driving around in that car and using it, you paid $247 a month. It's like leasing a car. That's what you did until you paid the whole thing off. I mean, as it happens, your father was out some money. Your father paid at least $520 in order to bring his credit up. You don't have a case against him. You have to act responsibly if you have a car. And if you ran behind in your payments, you have to understand that it's not your credit because you're in the armed services. There's a lot of protection for people in the armed services about getting sued civilly, but there's nothing to protect him. And you as his child should want to protect him, especially since he did a good deed. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy.
Parties on Douglas versus White. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Christian minister Joseph Douglas is suing Christina White, claiming he felt he was a prisoner in the room he rented. He accuses Christina of violence and invasion of privacy. Christina is countersuing for damage to the room and mental and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Judges, number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Douglas versus White. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Have a seat.
Mr. Douglas, I've read your complaint. I've read your response. Ms. White, don't understand a lot of it. What I gather, sir, is that you rented a room from the defendant.
That's correct.
And things, according to your complaint, became untenable there. You moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes.
You rented him a room. You say he moved out owing you a month's rent because he didn't give you 30 days' notice. So you're suing him for $5,000.
Plus sexual harassment.
Well, my limit is $5,000, so I assume that everything that you're suing for is part of your $5,000.
That's correct.
This better be good. Let's go.
It's pretty good. I moved in. When I went to apply for the room, I asked for no drinking, no smoke, or little smoking, and no violence of any kind.
Is this a private house?
Yes, it is.
Right.
This was just at the time of the application.
Excuse me?
This was at the time of the application for the room. There were 3 people there, the defendant, Rose, her witness, and another gentleman.
Okay, so what happened?
The first month I moved in, it was pretty calm, but thereafter it just got worse.
How did it get worse?
The defendant fought with her roommate constantly in the middle of the night. They'd get drunk and fight. They'd throw chairs at each other, beat each other up. This was happening every night.
So why didn't you just tell them you were leaving?
I couldn't afford to at the time.
Just a second. What do you mean you couldn't afford to?
I'm on a fixed income, and it was costing me $450 a month to live there. I didn't have enough money to move, period.
Well, how much did it cost you to move in?
$450. That was, she gave me a break. I just had to pay the first month's rent and half of the second month.
So you didn't have much of an investment in there, so why couldn't you just move out?
No place else would do that. I had to have first and last month.
Well, that's not the defendant's fault, sir.
I didn't blame the defendant for that.
Well, so...
I just could not afford to move.
So what are you suing the defendant for $5,000 for?
Because she didn't take it. The money that I paid her was supposed to go as part of the rent, or part of the mortgage payment. It never got paid.
What does that have to do with you?
A lot, when the mortgage company's going to throw me out.
What does that have to do with you? You're giving her $450. I'm trying to figure out where this $5,000 number came from.
Well, on top of the not paying the rent, my electricity was shut off.
When?
The last part of January.
And how many months had you been living there?
3 months at that time.
How come the electricity got shut off?
Because he took over control of my house. He told all the tenants, because I got notice of trustee's sale, because I'd been trying to save my house after divorce. He got all the tenants together and said, you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay any utilities. And they didn't at that point. They all stopped.
Why did he tell the people that they didn't have to pay rent and
utilities? Because he said because my house was being supposedly foreclosed, and it didn't.
Oh. So you found, let me understand this. You found out, sir, that the house was in foreclosure.
He took...
Just a minute. Okay. You found out that the house was in foreclosure.
Yes.
And you had a conversation with the other tenants that if the house was in foreclosure, they didn't have to pay.
No.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm the witness. I lived in the household at the same time.
Okay. I'll get to you then.
Thank you.
That's important. Did you step up here on one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay electric?
Yes, ma'am.
You have your proof of that?
I did not bring that. I didn't know I was going to be on trial myself.
When this person moved out, they owed me 2.5 months out of the 4 months they were there. And I'm suing...
This
yes,
lady?
that person right there owes me over 2.5 months. They didn't pay diddly squat to me. And they moved in with this guy.
You have proof?
I do have proof, but it's in Sacramento.
That you paid the last 2 months' rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did not happen.
Sit down. Are you currently living with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Not with. We're sharing an apartment. Yeah, I want that.
I still don't know where we get $5,000 from, Mr. Douglas.
The electricity was shut off. She shut it off. It wasn't shut off because of the thing. I had to have it turned back on.
So?
She stole several of my own personal things
like
from
what?
me. From, I have a list. Would you like to see it?
Sure. A miniature pulpit? What is that?
A friend of mine had a pulpit made for me, a small one.
Why would your friend do that?
Because I'm a minister, or was a minister at the time he had it made.
How long ago was that?
2 years.
What kind of a minister?
A Christian minister.
I mean, did you have a congregation?
No, I was a counselor.
Counselor for whom?
Marriage counselor.
I'm going to, listen to me. I'm going to read you a few things, and I want you to tell me whether you have any of these things. Ready?
I'm ready.
A miniature pulpit.
That was left in the room and it's still there.
So it's there, ready for him to get.
Yes, I took pictures.
Vinyl and wire lamp stand.
That was left in the room. I have pictures.
Cookie jar.
That is in my case right here. It was left in the room.
2-slice toaster.
That was left in the kitchen where it was left.
Just say, just say,
Sure.
I tell you what,
In
just
kitchen.
say yes.
Yeah.
Just say yes that you have it, okay? Sorted couch pillows.
No.
Lavender blanket.
No.
A year's worth of new magazines.
Left in room.
Footstool.
My property. Extortion.
Your property.
My property.
Okay. Computer, monitor, and stand base. Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Set of 4 relaxation tapes.
No,
Do you
I
have that?
don't have this.
All right. You now know what she has. Shep. You now know what she has, and we'll make arrangements for you to go pick them up. Now, what else are you suing her for?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas says he rented a room from Christina White but felt trapped in a nightmare. Christina says Joseph was the problem.
Now, what else are you suing her for? So far, I haven't heard anything anywhere near $5,000 worth. All that merchandise that she has, you can have back. I still have, stop looking at your papers. Tell me where $5,000 is, Mr. Douglas.
Your Honor, I went through pure hell living in that house for 4 months.
Then you should have moved, sir.
I couldn't afford to.
That's not her fault.
Well, it is her fault.
No, sir. She didn't charge you. She didn't charge
me
you.
something when I moved in there, Your Honor.
Okay.
And she didn't fulfill that agreement.
No.
And I have a witness to that, too, or a statement from the other witness.
I don't read statements from witnesses. I hear witnesses. I don't take statements from witnesses. So far, if you're moving it, you moved into an apartment, $450 a month rent. She didn't charge you security.
300 a month.
$300 a month. She didn't charge you security. She didn't charge you first and last. You didn't bring in a whole bunch of stuff, according to you. And if you couldn't afford to move out, she wasn't saying to you, she didn't keep you prisoner there. You could have moved out. Because you can't sue her for $5,000 because you were unhappy there, sir. You're unhappy, you move. This is America. All right, you are countersuing him for what?
I am countersuing for the damage to my room and house.
To your what?
For the damage to my room and house. He left the room filthy, and I have pictures of how the room was left and the stuff he left in the room here, if you care to see some of that. May I?
Come on, get somewhere near $5,000, madam.
Okay. We're getting to that right now.
Well, then let's get to it, because this
Okay.
other stuff is nonsense.
Okay.
He
This
wasn't
is-
happy living there. You weren't happy having him there. He left, period. End of discussion.
I wish that had been the end of it, ma'am. The mental and sexual harassment.
Well, you can tell me about that.
First of all, when he left, that was a bit of a charade. He promised me a note that he would pay. He sent someone else to pick up the stuff the next day. And then the day after that, on the 9th, he sends me then threatening, harassing note. And he
Show it
ends
to him and see
with a
if
note
you-
with, "Have a nice day. It may well be one of your last."
Did you
And
send
that's-
that note, sir?
Yes, I did.
Can I see it, please? Dear Charles and Christine.
All of his correspondence has been addressed that way. The small claims court was addressed that way.
Why do you address the mail like this, sir?
Because that's the way I filed it in the court, and I wanted the court to know that I didn't know who this person was until a month before I moved out. That's why I'm angry.
What do you mean you didn't know who this person was?
I didn't know this person was a man.
Because, just a second.
Order.
What? Well, why, sir, would you address mail?
Because I didn't know whose name to send it in, Your Honor.
Well, how was this person introduced to you? How did you...
Christine.
You identified yourself as Christine.
Christine, yes. Totally.
All the time?
All the time, 100%.
Not all the time, Your Honor.
100%.
When she was at home, it was whatever.
I have a witness here that would dispute that. That's ridiculous.
Listen, have you officially changed your gender?
Everything, my legal gender, as shown in my driver's license,
is female.
Changed. Yes, it is.
Okay, and when was that done?
About 4 years ago.
Okay. Am I correct that the sexual harassment that you are referring to is the fact that he has addressed documents that he's sent out to people using both your female name and the name
My
Charles?
previous married name, yes.
Okay.
That is just the beginning of it.
Go ahead.
Him and this other person co-conspired to get me fired at my job. They filed 2 Better Business Bureau complaints alleging, Diane was the first one, alleging went into my store and found this person who was quote a man dressed as a woman.
Let me see.
And it has my business response to it, and this is also, he followed with the next day one that alleged the same thing. And everything was fraudulent. They said they could talk to my supervisor. It did not happen.
I don't know what this is about. You want to tell me?
This is about them, this person here, claiming they came in my store and saw me as some stranger, and I've known that person for 2
Just a minute.
years.
I'm talking about this gentleman. Forget about her.
Okay.
She's not party to this action.
He followed up with the same identical thing.
No, Your Honor, that's not true.
It's right there in black and white.
I wrote the letter, but I wrote it because I objected to this person working in the women's department.
Just a second. You wrote to the Better Business Bureau advising them that the defendant was working in the women's department of a store.
Yes.
And she was actually a man, and you thought that that was wrong.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Because I think it's wrong.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you just curse in here?
I might have.
Get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But I think you've got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive and pretty nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Minister Joseph Douglas and Christina White are at war over rent, invasion of privacy, and allegations of sexual harassment.
That was typical of the situation I lived in. I couldn't do anything.
Then you should have left.
I tried.
Oh, please, give me a break.
I didn't have the money.
That's too bad. That's too bad. That's not her fault. That's not my fault. How old are you, sir?
50.
If you're 50 years old and you didn't have $400 to move out and find another place to live, that's a real problem.
Your Honor.
What?
It would have taken $1,200 to
Didn't
move.
cost you $1,200 to move
I
into
got
her
lucky,
apartment.
or I thought I had.
Well, you thought you got lucky, and you didn't.
Obviously.
And you didn't. But I think you got a lot of nerve with this. This is pretty vindictive. This is pretty vindictive. Just a second. Pretty vindictive and pretty nasty. This having...
I still object to her working there. I don't care if it's vindictive or nasty to anybody else. She shouldn't be working in a woman's department.
What? Where did you go to divinity school, sir? Where did you
Florida.
graduate from divinity school?
Florida.
What?
Florida.
Give me the name of the school. Just a second. Give me the name of the school.
United Faith Ministry.
United
Bible,
Faith
Yes, Bible College.
And how long did you go to this United
3
Faith
years.
Ministry? When?
1986 through 1989.
Did you graduate from there?
Yes, ma'am.
After 3 years?
Yes.
Divinity school?
Yes.
Where did you go to school before that? You don't go to divinity school for 3 years, sir.
Well, I did.
You don't get a
Honor.
Doctor of Divinity in 3 years. Unless you get your Doctor of Divinity and close the cover before you strike.
I do not have a DD, Your Honor.
Huh?
That's a Doctor of Divinity.
Yeah? So what are you?
Mine is in religion. It's a PhD, and it's an honorary PhD, but it's still valid.
Right. I just want to make sure we understand each
Okay.
other, sir. Because I understand you. This is a vindictive thing to do. What else?
Well, basically my job was pretty much ruined his career, ruined that
Did you
place.
get fired from your job?
No, not
Good.
yet, but it's going
Oh,
back.
that's something.
Okay, I
Let me
have
see the
also my
letter.
counseling. I've had to start counseling because of what they've done. I mean, sexual harassment and what happened at my work. Because I used to go to work and feel happy, and now I go there and I just feel like I've been raped at my work by this man and this other person.
Yeah.
Thank you. And caused breach of contract by other tenants by saying that they didn't have to pay rent or utilities, and that's the only reason is I ran out of
Listen to
money.
me, I'm not entertaining that. The fact that he told other tenants that they did not have to pay rent or utilities, and they listened to him
Yes,
because
they
they were stupid. Go after them in a separate action, each one
Yes.
of them for money that they owe you.
I
What
am.
else?
He interfered with my mortgage contract when they tried to serve me the trustee sale notice, and I was home. He stopped him from doing that, and he got the notice, and he read it, and had him put it on the door. He actually said I wasn't home. Yes.
They posted the notice, that's all it was,
After
Your
you
Honor.
told him I wasn't home. You lied.
They had already posted it.
You lied. I was home.
She's ready to rule.
Listen to me. He has, as abhorrent as I believe it is, he has a right to voice his objection as a citizen under the First Amendment to the Better Business Bureau with regard to someone who he knows is a man who is now a woman working in a woman's shop.
Well, he didn't know that from me, Your Honor.
Well, he may not have known it from you, but that happens to be true. So he has a First Amendment right to write to the Better Business Bureau. His motives, I question, just as I question his reverendship. All right. But that is not actionable. It's not sexual harassment. He's saying that he finds that not a reasonable situation to have you working in a woman's department in a store. Now, I don't know what business is it of his unless he goes in to buy ladies' things and goes into the dressing room, but he's allowed to do that because that's what the First Amendment to the Constitution says he's allowed to do. Listen, you get nothing from this court, sir. Absolutely, positively nothing except within 4 days, escorted. You can go and retrieve the items that you will please have put to one side someplace so we can pick up all the items that he has left in your apartment.
Right, my house.
Now, most of the damages that you are requesting from this court have to do with this harassment and making your life miserable.
Yes. Inside and out.
Inside and out. He left without giving you 30 days notice. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I had a 3-day or quit notice, Your Honor, so I left.
You didn't leave within 3 days. You hung on.
Just a minute. Okay. He left. I would assume, Miss White, that you are very happy to be rid of him.
Very.
That you didn't want him around for an additional 30 days. Correct?
I actually offered he could stay there if he promised to catch up on the rent.
Just a second. From everything that you've told me, you were very happy that he moved out when he didn't stay an additional 30 days.
Sure. I mean, that's
good.
Yes.
Give him back everything that you owe him. This case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
On the next Judge.
This is Maher. Step forward, please.
48-year-old teacher Judy Madsen wants her ex-husband Don Marr to pay for their 10-year-old daughter's many medical bills. Marr, a computer programmer, says his ex-wife is a hypochondriac and is raising their daughter to be one.
Order. All rise. Judges number 104 on the calendar in the matter of Madsen versus Maher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Miss Madsen, you and the defendant were married for how long?
15 years.
And how long are you divorced?
About 3 years, 4 years.
You have a 10-year-old daughter together.
Right.
Do you have any other children?
No.
Do you, sir?
I have a stepson.
But you have no other biological children?
No.
According to your complaint, Miss Madsen, your judgment of divorce provides that your former husband pay 1/2 of any unreimbursed medical bills.
Correct.
In addition to child support.
Mm-hmm.
And he does pay child support faithfully according to your answer, sir. Is
Yes,
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you pay in child support for your daughter?
$420 a month.
And according to your complaint, you have liberal visitation with the child.
About 30% of the time.
Give me the times. Is it weekends?
Wednesday, overnight, weekends, split holidays, half Christmas.
And you avail yourself of all of your visitation?
As much as I can.
Is that true?
He doesn't on all of them. The last 2-week visitation he had, he only took a week.
But most of the time he sees her every
most of the
week.
time, and he's always there on time.
Good. All right, Ms. Madsen, you say that he has not paid some of the unreimbursed medical bills.
Correct.
I'd like you to tell me which bills those were.
Here, I have a summary on top so you can see some of them are for prescription, some of them are for therapy, for speech therapy, some of them are for the deductible on the chiropractic.
Well, let's talk about all these bills. These are very heavy bills without looking through them. Does your daughter suffer from any handicap?
No.
Then why does she have all of these medical bills?
These bills are over about a 2-year period. They're not just in the last 6 months.
Even so. First of all, can you tell me why the child goes to a chiropractor?
Her back hurts and her neck hurts.
Who suggested that a chiropractor was necessary for a 10-year-old child?
No one. I go every week. And she had complained for about a year about her back. And I suggested that she give the chiropractic a try, and if it didn't work, that we wouldn't do it anymore.
Why do you go to the chiropractor every week?
Because I have slight scoliosis and my back hurts, my neck hurts.
Quite frankly, Ms. Madsen, I never heard of anybody taking a 9 or a 10-year-old child to a chiropractor because their back hurt if it was undiagnosed by a doctor as a specific problem. Your first response should have been taking the child to an orthopedist, having a set of x-rays taken, and if it was something that had to be addressed by a chiropractor, it's addressed by a chiropractor. Let's hear about some of these other bills that you have.
There's medication for Ritalin. She's been diagnosed as ADHD.
When was she diagnosed as ADT?
She was diagnosed by her pediatrician, her therapist, by 2 separate therapists.
Which therapist?
Dr. Andrea Christensen.
When was that? How old was she when she was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder?
7.
And what prompted you to take her to a therapist?
I'm a teacher, and I work with first grade children at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm aware of how children are when they don't pay attention.
So you're telling me that the child has been on Ritalin for 3 years?
Right.
Was she retested?
Yes.
When?
This last spring by her teacher.
By who?
Well, her teacher fills out a paper having to do with her ability to pay attention.
Teachers don't make evaluations with regard to whether a child needs medication.
You're absolutely right. They do not. But they do report to the doctor whether the child is able to stay in her seat, whether she's able to complete her classwork, and how she is performing.
Well, I would assume that if you've had the child on Ritalin, that the child was doing fine.
Right, she is.
So if the child was doing fine, why wouldn't you want to try to wean her off the Ritalin at age 10 to see if it was a problem of short duration?
She has, from time to time, not taken her Ritalin when she's gone to school in the morning, not known to me. And I've gotten a call from the teacher that night wanting to know what was going on with our daughter and why she was so inattentive at school.
Yes.
How old was she when that occurred?
This is just this last year.
Why wasn't I informed?
Don't talk to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ritalin is overprescribed. You ring a bell, 40% of the class gets up or runs into the nurse to get their pill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 48-year-old Don Marr says his ex-wife Judy Madsen is turning their 10-year-old daughter into a hypochondriac, and he will not be responsible for unnecessary medical bills.
Office visit Dr. Walker. Who's Dr. Walker?
And that's her pediatrician.
That's on the 5th. Is that you don't know what that was? That was June 5th of 96.
It was probably a check on the Ritalin.
Well, then you
Oh,
had,
you know, it's
you had
probably
another
95.
office visit. You had another office visit less than 6 weeks later, the same doctor.
She suffers from chronic ear infections and allergies. And she has had episodes of problems breathing. And at one time she had a fever over 5 days, and she was tested for valley fever. And
What kind of fever did she have over 5 days?
Apparently it was a virus. But at the time, the doctor thought it might be pneumonia. She
Well,
sent me
pneumonia
down.
you check by going for an X-ray.
We went and had an X-ray, and it was clear. And the doctor suspected that it was
So then it was, you know, it wasn't pneumonia. If you had the X-ray, and the X-ray is clear, then you know you don't have pneumonia.
Correct.
So then it's something that goes away.
But it didn't go away in 4 days. And so...
Sometimes it doesn't go away in 4 days.
Well, and I called her back,
Sometimes it
and
takes
she
a week.
tested her for tuberculosis and valley fever, both of those.
But it went away after 5 days.
Right.
So all that was really unnecessary to put the child through all of that stuff.
Well, the first initial visit was unnecessary.
The next one is May 18th of 95.
Right.
Prescription multivitamin fluoride.
Right.
What is that?
It's a fluoride tab that is prescribed by her physician, supported by her dentist, for healthy teeth. Fluoride tablets that she chews after she has brushed her teeth. She has hypercalcified teeth.
Then we go to therapy, Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
There are several therapies that I, prior to that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What kind of a doctor is Christensen?
She's a family therapist, and I took her initially with the divorce.
Why are you still seeing, she's still seeing this Christensen in 1996?
There has been a death in her
death of
grandfather. Her grandfather passed away, and she had difficulty dealing with that.
When was that?
That was almost a year ago, in
My
September.
father, Your Honor, died in September.
Yeah, but she's been going to see this Christensen all along. It didn't make any difference whether there was
Since
a death
August
or
of
not.
'93.
According to your bills here, it's at least every week that she goes to see this therapist.
At first it was almost every week, but now she goes about once a month.
Ventolin.
That's for asthma.
She has asthma?
Yes.
She been diagnosed as having asthma?
Right.
Do you know anything about that, sir?
Never witnessed it, never saw it, paid for the appliances, paid for the stuff. I've never seen that little girl wheeze. I've seen her have a runny nose. That's it.
Just a second.
It's absurd. I see her a third of the time. I just should witness at least one episode. You'd think.
Ms. Madsen, I'm just reading this over because I was disturbed when I read these papers, quite frankly. And I wanted to look through your records. Let's take 1996. You have an office visit with a pediatrician on February 13th of 96. You have an office visit with the pediatrician on February 28th, 96. You have an office visit with the pediatrician on March 15th of 96. You have an office visit with the pediatrician on April 1st. As a matter of fact, there are 2 office visits listed for April 1st. You have another office visit on April 26th with the pediatrician. You have another office visit on May 28th with the pediatrician. You have another office visit on August 1st with the pediatrician. You have another office visit. No, there are none other listed here. So those are the office visits that you have with the pediatrician. All right, Mr. Maher, I'd like to hear from you, sir.
This is a patient consultant text for the 2 drugs that I refused to pay for. The Ritalin, that's the toothpaste and the vitamins. Because I believe you could use Crest and a vitamin and get bottled water, and that would go away. I believe her back problems would go away if she would stand tall, put a book on her head.
Well, you're not a doctor either. She has
No, I'm not.
She has pains in her back. Yeah, go ahead.
A little common sense would go a long way.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When it appears to me that a child is overly involved with the medical profession, bells go off in my head. I guess it's part of my training.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Judy Madsen is fighting with her ex-husband, Don Marr, over whether he should pay half of their daughter's extraordinary medical bills. Don says Judy is turning their daughter into a hypochondriac.
What else, sir?
There's a set of bills from June 23rd, 1996 in our correspondence. And basically I refused to pay bills that were older than 30 days. She had gotten really lax. There are bills in there that are a year. This is 1 week before I'm going to see the child. I get $465 worth of bills. That's going to ensure the fact that I can't do the things I'd planned. So I paid 30 days and said, I'm not paying the rest, Judy. I'm not paying that, I'm not paying that, I'm not paying that. And she says, well, why not? You're the father, you're supposed to pay. And I said, because I am a responsible parent, I can't. I mustn't pay.
What else? Because I don't think that that's what you're complaining about, sir.
No, I'm really complaining about the misuse of my daughter. I'm really complaining about taking her to this doctor and that doctor and this doctor and running her all around, and she can't be a kid. That's really what I'm angry about. And I'm angry. It's got to stop. I don't know how. Don't know how to make this stop.
I think as far as the other bills... I can think of several ways, sir, that seem to be reasonable. Do you have a copy of your judgment of divorce, either one of you? I do. May I take a look at it, please? This was an agreement that you hammered out between the two of you, I assume, either through mediation or by attorneys. Is that right?
Attorneys.
Through attorneys. You're not supposed to smile when you say that, sir. Look, I do not get the sense, Miss Madsen, that your former husband wants to be anything but a good parent to this child and wants to be remiss in his financial responsibility. I say that because he is faithful in paying his child support. He does pay for certain of her medical and dental bills. He does pay for her orthodontic bills. He does pay for other bills. I will tell you that I was concerned when I read your papers. I'll tell you why. Whenever I see a child, a young child who is otherwise healthy, go to a doctor as frequently as your daughter does and have as many kinds of prescription medications as your daughter has, even though some of them can be acquired over the counter with a little bit of imagination. When a child is taken to a chiropractor without any specific referral by an orthopedist, when it appears to me that a child is overly involved with the medical profession, bells go off in my head. I guess it's part of my training. That sometimes there's a problem not so much with the child, but with the custodial parent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't think that he has to pay anything for this child's chiropractor unless he was consulted and was satisfied that that was a reasonable thing and a necessary treatment for his child. Now, I wouldn't say that with all parents who come before me, because I would say, listen, he may withhold his consent, and that would be unreasonable. But because of his history of payment and of visiting the child regularly and being involved with the child, my sense is that Mr. Maher would not deny his only biological child with the necessary medical treatment that she needs. I tell you now that the reasons that you give for your daughter seeing this, continuing to see this is it Miss Christensen or Mr. Christensen?
Miss Christensen.
I am not satisfied with those reasons. I can absolutely see why a child going through a period of divorce would be served well if both parents are involved initially and for a brief period of time, some ongoing family counseling. It's not to be used as a lifelong crutch. If you have a child who suffers from ADD, and unfortunately, I believe that that is a highly over-touted illness today. And as far as I'm concerned, the child should not be on Ritalin unless the child is tested.
She has been tested.
No. Not in 3 years, except for a teacher who writes up reports. A teacher.
No, her therapist, she went to 2 different therapists and her pediatrician.
A psychiatrist?
Yes.
A psychiatrist? A PhD?
No.
Show me.
Now,
I'd
there's
love
no,
to see the
just
report.
a second. There is nothing here. There is nothing here that suggests to me that this child saw, other than Dr.
paid the bill.
Other than Dr. Christensen, a psychiatrist, that's an MD.
That's because he paid the bill, Your Honor.
What I'm telling you is, I think any parent who keeps a child on Ritalin for anywhere near approaching a year without testing to ensure that it is absolutely necessary for this child is making a tragic mistake. Ritalin is overprescribed. 40% of kids, 12 o'clock in school today. You ring a bell, 40% of the class gets up and runs into the nurse to get their pill. And I want to tell you something. I sat in the family court for 15 years, and I was in the family court for almost a quarter of a century. And these kinds of medications are prescribed at least as often for the parents as they are for the children. That's a problem. Once you begin to believe that you can use a therapist as a crutch, and that starts as early as 5 and 6 and 7, and your child has been in therapy for 3 years, and I haven't seen any reason why. So I'm not ordering you to pay for therapy. And what I am telling you is, in the future, would be my judgment, unless it's an emergency, before you incur any medical expense that you expect him to contribute to, you discuss it with him and get his approval. And if you cannot get his approval, then the two of you sit down and decide, call up the American Medical Association, get the name of the top specialist in your area. The two of you go, have a consultation. You choose one. Choose 2. Have your consultation, and let the best therapist, the best professional in the area make a judgment as to whether this medical procedure is necessary. Aside from that, I'm not ordering to pay anything. That's all.
All right, sir, excuse you. May step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next... Susan Creech is suing Thomas Daniels, her 48-year-old live-in lover of 8 years. Susan says Daniels left her just a month after she bought him a Camaro. Daniels, a driver by occupation, took the car with him.
Order, all rise. Quiet, please, all rise. Your Honor, number 20 on the calendar in the matter of Creech versus Daniels. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
All right, Miss Creech, you were in a relationship with this gentleman for about 7 years, according to your complaint.
Yes.
And towards the end of that relationship, you say you lent him money to buy a car.
Right.
$4,000 to buy the car and another $1,100 for what?
For stereo and an alarm.
And how much after you made this loan to him did you separate?
About a month and a half.
You couldn't tell that there was handwriting on the wall?
No.
No?
No, I guess he could, but I couldn't.
You, sir, say that this was a gift.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
So?
Not.
Tell me how it came about.
Okay. We had a car that we bought together, a Trans Am that we were going to sell.
A Trans Am?
The deal was he came home on March 28th and he took off with the car.
Which car?
The Trans Am, with his friend, supposedly to show it to somebody to sell. But actually, it went down to another woman's house. And so then he, the next morning, he took off with the Camaro.
Just a minute. How did we get to the Camaro? I want to know how you bought the Camaro.
I bought it with, my dad died and he left me some money. And it was in a separate account with my name on it. And I wrote the check to the company.
How did you
in
find
cash.
this Camaro?
Oh, we were shopping for parts at a wreckage company, and they had the car for sale. And it was
This
a
was
good
about
deal.
a month before you separated.
Right.
So
It was on
what was the
Valentine's
conversation
Day.
like when you saw this car?
Well, we were looking at the car, and he said, God, this is a good deal for $4,000, and it's 10 years younger, or older, younger, than what I already have. And so I said, well, let's think about it, because at the time he had quit his job and he wasn't working. And I said, if you get a job, then we'll get the car. Well, Monday came, he told me he had a job, which was a big lie. And then he
What
went
did he
back
say
to
to you?
his...
He got a job doing what?
Driving a truck, like he always does.
And you were living together at this time?
Yeah.
And you lived together the entire 7-year period?
On and off.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, on Thursday, the previous Thursday, he told me I have a job, and I start Monday. So I believed him like an idiot, and Monday came and went, and so did the job. And then he went in, and he has a drinking problem. He went in, and he told me they decided not to accept me because, you know, the insurance wouldn't accept him.
What do you mean?
Well,
you mean
when
the
you have-
insurance for the trucking job?
Right, because he had a DUI like 10 years ago on his record.
Okay.
So, but the time was a little fishy, like when he left to when he went to this job. So amazing, he comes back to San Jose, and he got his old job back, where he always gets it back. You know what I mean? Because when he works well. It's when he doesn't work, he drinks. So we got the job back, and started driving the truck. But I never got any money back.
Just a second. I still didn't hear how you bought the car.
Oh, then we went back to where this, you know, car was for sale, and he had a job, and I wrote the check, and the deal was he was supposed to be paying me back some money, but the money never came.
Now, when you got the car, you paid for the full amount. Is that
Yes.
right? So far, is that correct, sir?
Paying for the full amount, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. And you put the car in whose name?
Jointly.
Joint?
Joint.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, so far, that's at least one smart thing that you did.
Yeah, once in my life, yeah.
Okay. And then a month later, you separated.
Right.
But he also wanted a stereo in the car and an alarm.
Well, a week or two after that, we went down to this place where we had bought stereos and alarms before and just had it put in. I put it on the Visa. It was $1,100. So that's how...
So this was 2 weeks before you separated.
We bought the car on the 14th of February, and we bought the stereo on the 22nd of February.
And when did you separate?
The 29th of March.
Not a long time.
No.
So now you've got a
new
nice
car.
new Camaro with a stereo and an alarm.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what caused you to separate?
Her story is pretty well to the point. There's a few things that are just kind of a little iffy on that. For one thing, the other car is a 76 Pontiac Firebird, not a Trans Am. There's a difference. Okay. And another thing, the part about getting a job never came up.
Let's start about the part about the car.
The car.
Such a lie.
The car.
Okay.
You
Car.
are such a liar.
Car. Miss
Why
Creech,
would I buy a
Miss
car
Creech.
if he had no job
Miss Creech.
to pay me back? Such a liar.
Are we done?
No, we're
Yeah,
not done.
Miss Creech.
We're done.
If you want to talk to him, you go outside. If you want to talk to me, you can stay here.
Okay.
Thank
Is that
you.
fair?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
7 years of this. Anyway, what I'm saying is there was no contract. We went to get parts for my car.
No contract with whom?
Her and I.
Let me have... You think that there should have been a contract
No,
between
no, no,
the
no,
two
no,
of you?
no. There shouldn't have been a contract because there was no question in my mind that
what?
That we were buying a car and it was going to be my car. She can't. Can you drive a stick?
Just a second.
Can you? She can't drive a stick, Your Honor.
What does that got to
Listen
do
to
with
me.
anything?
Listen to me. She said that you were buying this car because you were going to sell the old car that you had.
That's perfectly correct.
I know, because that's what you put in your answer.
Right, but the thing is there was no time that I was going to sell the car. I said, I'm going to sell the car, which doesn't mean I had a buyer for it. The car is for sale right now.
The car's in Riverside.
Just a second.
The car has a for sale sign on it right now, Your Honor, in Riverside, at this young lady's house.
Yeah.
Okay?
Why do you think... And you have, so you have both cars.
Yeah.
Let me understand this. Let me just put on my thinking cap and understand this whole thing. You have the Pontiac, right?
Correct, Your Honor.
You have the Camaro.
Correct, Your Honor.
You have the stereo.
Correct, Your Honor.
You have the alarm.
Correct, Your Honor.
She has the visa bill.
Correct,
Right, just
Your
a
Honor.
second. She has the visa bill. She has the visa bill. She has the check stub for $4,000 and fond memories of you. That's what she has. You think that that's fair?
Your Honor.
No. Your Honor, I know who I am. Do you think that that's fair?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why did you break up, sir?
I
That's
told
my
her
point.
either he goes or I go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Thomas Daniels says his former live-in, Susan Creech, is mad because he left her after 8 years. Susan says he left with the Camaro she paid for.
So how are we going to make it fair, sir?
Well, if I can convince you that I...
Order.
You asked me a question earlier about...
If you can convince me what?
If I can convince you that there was no... She bought this... Friday we went and took a look at the car. We didn't talk about the car all weekend long. Monday she goes, do you want to go and... Let's go and get your car. And I never mentioned it to her. Not one word did I say to her. Friday we talked about it. We discussed it. I said, I'll put the Firebird up for sale.
Just a minute. Let's go back.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You said, you discussed it, and you said, I'll put the Firebird up for sale. Whatever we get to the Firebird, we can put towards this, and then we will pay it off.
No.
No.
No. I said I would put the Firebird up for sale.
For what?
Huh? Well, I can't drive both cars, Your Honor.
And what are we going to do with the money that you got from the Firebird?
Okay.
Oh,
We
not
had a
okay.
joint... We
Not
had a joint...
okay.
We
Answer
had,
my
Your Honor,
question.
we had a joint account.
Just a second.
My checks went with her account. Her checks went in her account. Okay? She had all the Visa
Just a
cards.
second. My checks, you just said, went with her account.
You're damn right.
And her check,
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
my checks went in her account, and her checks went in
Her account.
her account.
We had a joint account. Okay?
So that all the checks went together.
Right. Who had
You were going to sell the Firebird
and put it back
in the joint account.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's okay. So that you have money to pay for the visa, the $1,100 paying
Very
off the
good.
visa and all that stuff. Right? Just a minute. Am I right so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, then you didn't sell the Firebird, and I am correct. She has the memories and the bills, and you have the cars and the stereo.
Correct.
So then what's the problem?
Miss Creech,
Yes.
I don't see, quite frankly, sir, that there's any problem. You bought this car, and there was an understanding, a 7-year relationship, there was an understanding that you were going to use this car together. Evidently, you did the driving. She was the passenger in the car most of the time when you traveled together. You were going to have one car. You were going to sell the Firebird. You were going to have the Camaro. Right?
She has her own car, Your Honor.
That's true, but I also have my own vehicles, which I drive.
She can't drive my car, Your Honor. She knew going into this deal, going into this proposition, that it was a stick, Your Honor. She can't drive a stick.
He always buys cars that have sticks. Every
They're-
single car
they're my
he's ever
vehicles.
owned.
But just a second, if you buy, they're your vehicles, if you buy them, she bought this one. And you
With
say it was...
our money, Your Honor.
What do you mean with our... Just a minute.
It was
She
a
says-
joint account. It was a joint account, Your Honor. It was our money.
Just a second.
My money went in there also. It was not just her money.
Hold on. $4,000. She said this $4,000 came from...
In 7 years' time, I
I'm
have
not
worked
talking-
more than $4,000, Your Honor.
No, we're not
I have
just
put
a minute.
money in this bank.
Just a second. Talking about the $4,000 that she took out of an account. Did she take that out of your joint account?
No.
No.
Well, then that wasn't your joint money.
Funny, we
We're
had
not
no
going
money
back
in
to
it,
the,
huh?
Listen, sir, we're not going back to the year of the flood. You were together 7 years. You ate a lot of meals during those 7 years.
Drank a lot
you
of
paid
beer.
a lot of rent. You whatever. She says you drank a lot of booze.
Lots.
Whatever it was, you lived over that 7 years. And you can't say, well, I must have given her $4,000 over that 7 years. That doesn't sound right to you. This $4,000, she says, came out of a probate account when someone in her family died and left her some money.
Right.
But is it your position that she bought you these things as a gift as a gift?
As a gift.
Why? Because she loved you?
Yeah.
And because she thought you were going to be together?
I thought, yeah.
Okay. So that dream lasted another 4 weeks after she bought
But there's
you this
a lot
stuff.
more to it. You're under.
I know. I'm not interested in what happened 6 years ago and 5 years ago. What I want to know, sir, is what was the precipitous for your breaking up 4 weeks after you bought this car?
Okay, Your Honor.
That's me.
She has a son, a 19-year-old son who does not work, has been graduated out of school, does nothing more than run around with gangs, does nothing more than get stopped for, wait a minute, doesn't get stopped for tagging, gets thrown in jail for tagging. I've told her that she goes to work at 11 o'clock at night. I stay home and sleep.
Why did you break up, sir?
I
That's
told
my
her
point.
either he goes or I go. Okay? He was staying. I said, hasta la vista. And I left.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As long as I never have to see or hear from you again, I'm happy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ex-lovers Susan Creech and Tom Daniels are fighting over the Camaro she bought just before they broke up.
2 weeks after I'm gone, she kicks him out of the house and then says to me, well, you were right.
Not 2 weeks.
Just a second. Just a second.
She says,
Hold
you're
it.
right. You're right.
Right.
I said, but what did it take me leaving the house for? Because we've been fighting about it for months, literally months. And it got to the point where I just said, hey, I'm beating my head against the wall. I come home here and try and get a good night's sleep, and all I'm doing is listening to boom boxes at 2:30 in the morning. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go down there, and I got tired of threatening the kid. Okay? Doesn't prove that I'm a big man because I can threaten a 19-year-old kid. All right?
So
I got tired of it.
So why are you angry with her?
Angry with her?
Shh. Yeah, why are you angry with her? You gave her
Because
a choice.
I gave her all the warnings in the world.
let
Your
her-
Honor, I gave her all the warnings in the world. I said, look, either he goes or I go. I gave her 30 days. 30 days came and passed. I gave her 60.
You have
what
children?
was I going to do?
You have children?
Do I have children? Of my
why,
own, yes.
Why do you keep repeating
Yes,
my
Your Honor,
questions?
I do.
How old are your children, sir?
21, 27, and 16, I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
I don't see them.
You don't see them?
No,
Why is that?
I don't see my children.
Well,
That's not fair.
then let me suggest this to you, sir. It's very difficult for a parent, in this case a mother, to be faced with an ultimatum, even from a maid of 7 years, that says it's either your son or me. When you say you got 30 days to choose your son or me, even though he's a pain in the neck, listen, that's not an easy choice for a mother to make. She clearly cared for you. She cared enough for you, and she doesn't look like a lady who's got money coming out of every pore. So she clearly cared enough for you to go out and say, you want this car, you really like it, here's $4,000, I'm going to buy this car because I know it will make you happy if we have this car. And you also like a nice stereo in the car, I'm going to take money out for that too, so that you can have a nice stereo in the car. So she's clearly a lady who cared for you. But when you tell her you got 30 days to choose between him or me, even if this son of hers is a real royal pain in the rump, which I believe he probably is.
He was.
Right? Because
So was he.
afterwards you told him out. It's not easy to accept that kind of ultimatum from anybody when it comes to a child.
Well, the
So
problem was, though, he had plenty of chances. He's done some really choice things in his life. I felt like I was giving everybody chances. But he's such a selfish person, he has to have everything to himself. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's not a very difficult decision to make. You left, you would have been having problems, according to your statement, Mr. Daniels, for months with regard to this boy.
So why did he take both cars? I'd like to know why.
I wasn't planning on leaving one to have it trashed.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. How about the
Mr.
how about,
Daniels,
how about the
Mr.
Firebird?
Daniels.
How about the Fiaro? How about the Fiaro? Who keyed the Fiaro?
Me.
Thank you. I'm going to leave a Pontiac sitting there by itself, Your Honor.
Why would I?
For this woman to key up again?
Mr. Daniels,
Doesn't make any
Mr.
sense.
Daniels,
It still
why
wasn't her
didn't you-
car.
Why didn't you bring leave her the Camaro?
Pardon me?
Because he wanted
What, just a second, what word didn't you understand?
I wanted the Camaro.
Because
Yeah, but just a...
Good,
You
thank
wanted the Camaro, Mr. Daniels, but she paid for it. I want, but she paid for it. If you were leaving after 4 weeks, it seems to me a little disingenuous of you, sir, to leave and take a car that she had just purchased for you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Need help in a divorce dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think she bought, and I keep saying bought this car for you to use because she had faith that your relationship was going to continue?
Yeah, I'm sure she had.
Okay. It's no different a situation to me, sir, from somebody giving somebody an engagement ring. And it's always been my position that when a man buys a woman an engagement ring, that's given under a sort of a contract that they have, that they will be together and that they will marry. And in the event that that marriage does not take place, it has always been my position that the ring has to go back to the man. Now, a lot of women say, listen, he gave that to me, it was a gift. But the gift was given with the intention, that ring was given with the intention of the marriage taking place. When that doesn't happen, the contract is over. This car was bought in contemplation of the two of you being together. Maybe if you had been together for 20 years, I would say, well, you know, you were together for 20 years after you bought this car, so that was sort of fulfilled. But there is something that doesn't sit right with me here that you left in a month's time, taking the car, the stereo, as well as the alarm. The alarm should have gone off in your head. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Is there a way that you can make him bring the other car up from Riverside? Because he wants me to go down and get it.
Madam, let me explain something to you. You've just told me this man drinks.
Mm-hmm.
He is selfish.
True.
He's self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
He gave you an ultimatum with regard to your child, right?
True.
He perhaps has not been totally faithful to your relationship.
Big time.
Big time?
Big time.
You just won a
You're
judgment for $5,000. What do you want a 20-year-old Pontiac for? Right?
True.
Perfect. $5,000 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
On the next.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã trở lại với kênh của tôi. Hãy theo dõi kênh của tôi để biết được các vấn đề về xuất khẩu lao động và du học sinh các nước trên thế giới như hiện nay. Thì hôm nay làm video mình sẽ nói về cái vấn đề học bổng xuất sắc toàn cầu Adelaide tại Úc dành cho các bạn sinh viên quốc tế. Thì với các cái học bổng nước ngoài xuất sắc về học thuật toàn cầu của Adelaide là một cái khoản trợ cấp có cái tính cạnh tranh cực kỳ là cao và chào đón các bạn sinh viên quốc tế đang bắt đầu học đại học hoặc là sau đại học và đã có cái thành tích học tập xuất sắc trong các cái khóa học trước đó. Và học bổng sẽ bao gồm là 50% cái học phí trong toàn bộ cái thời gian của cái chương trình. Và năm 2024 này thì đây được coi là một trong những cái học bổng tốt nhất ở Úc mà dành riêng cho các bạn sinh viên quốc tế. Là một cái học bổng rất là thu hút đối với các bạn sinh viên quốc tế khi mà đang có cái mơ ước đến với đất nước Úc để du học. Khi mà tất cả chúng ta muốn du học ở một đất nước nào đó thì chúng ta phải tìm hiểu các cái loại học bổng mà chúng ta được nhận khi chúng ta đến với đất nước đó để chúng ta du học. Chúc các bạn sẽ luôn thành công với con đường mà mình đã lựa chọn để đến với du học.